Howdy, folks. Man, I just realized I just hit recording before anybody's actually here. Did this just start? Yes, it did. People will be here soon. Uh, so I'm gonna do more of this. Remember when I did this a little while ago? I'm gonna do more of it. I've been dreading doing this because look what's at the bottom of the screen there. Look at that. It's all the Dark Souls games. And also Bloodborne and Sekiro. And, I don't think I'm going to get to those today, though, is the main thing. As in, I might just, no matter how long this takes to get to there, I might cut the stream off right before that, because I could write a fucking, essay about the Dark Souls games. And their qualities. So I feel like I want to, start off a stream talking about Dark Souls. It's 2 a.m. in my time zone. It is for a lot of the continental United States right now. Alright, people are here. So, if you just joined us, yeah, I'm reviewing games that I've streamed. This is a nice, easy on the hand thing to do. Do you remember in Hot Fuzz? It was like, hello, Angel. How's the hand? That for some reason that totally innocuous line always makes me crack up. So here we go. Super Smash Bros. Melee. I cut it off last stream right here at Smash because I knew this was gonna be a whole thing to talk about. Let me know if you can see and hear everything all right. By the way, it looks like it should be good. Smash Melee. So this was when I streamed this was just I booted up a ROM of it and I was like, I'll just dick around. I don't think it was even a completed save file. But when I played this game when I was younger, it was of course on a GameCube, and it was my friend's GameCube. It was my friend across the street, Carl, had a GameCube before I ever had a console. And we would go over there, or I would go over there and play Melee, and I would play Mario Kart Double Dash. And one time, he tried to get me to start a playthrough of Wind Waker, and I was like, this is dumb and boring, I want Mario Kart. Which, in retrospect, I love Wind Waker now. So, Melee, all the Smash games, 64 and Brawl and PM and shit aren't on here because I haven't streamed them yet. But every Smash game has so much fucking content in it. It makes it really hard to review them as a video game. And I will say, if your only criteria for reviewing a video game is just have you got enjoyment from it, then all the Smash games would be a perfect 10, basically. Despite their many flaws, they are each game, even the old ones, Smash 64 is pretty basic, but starting with Melee, they started to get kind of bloated, and now in Ultimate, it's bruh, the bloat has reached an entirely new level. But even in Melee, the game is kind of all over the place. There's a lot of conversations you could have with this game in particular about the intent of the designers versus what it ended up being nowadays to competitive players. Of course, things like L canceling and wave dashing. I think it's confirmed that the developers at least knew about them and they were intended mechanics. But like many other things in the game, the terrible balance of the game, for instance, is another good example. They just didn't really know how to make it all work together, and they didn't really understand how people were going to use those tools that they were given, things like wave dashing and L canceling. I don't think they really understood. I feel like they accidentally made one of the best fighting games, or one of the most popular fighting games in the competitive world nowadays. I mean, it's well known that people swear by Melee. Melee players, maybe they'll fuck around with PM and stuff, but when Brawl came out, when Wii U came out, when even Ultimate came out, most Melee players were kind of I'll play it for a tiny bit, but then I'm going to go back to the one that I'm really good at and have been playing every day for the last 20 years, you know? But you know what? They're allowed to do that. It does make it a bit... I feel like this is a game with, famously, a really high skill ceiling, which I guess I don't mean to sound patronizing, but I'm going to explain what a skill ceiling and a skill floor is, just in case anyone out there is uninformed. But a skill ceiling is basically how far a game can go before it's optimal. So you would say that, for instance, in like speedrunning Super Mario Bros. 1, the skill ceiling is, I guess it's technically pretty high. That's probably not a good example. But it's like, a skill ceiling being high means that there are options beyond the casual player's wildest imagination, usually. Whereas a skill floor is like a base amount of skill required by the player to even enjoy the game at all, you know? And I feel like now that Smash Melee, so many people are so good at it, that skill floor is so high because basically in order to enjoy Smash Melee against a competitive player, which is most people who still play it nowadays, you have to L-cancel basically every move with almost perfect consistency. You know, you maybe fuck it up every once in a while, but you gotta be really consistent with that. You gotta be really consistent with wave dashing, short hopping, which is really kind of weirdly difficult in Melee. Things like that. That just make it sort of not... They don't motivate me to play the game. And that's why I haven't really delved into it, even though I do love Smash. And playing it as a kid, all these games, like, the one that had the most characters was the best one when I was younger, you know? It was like when Brawl came out, Melee was old news. It's like, fuck it, you know, it's got like Mewtwo and Young Link and shit. But for the most part, I was like, this one has more characters. It is better. You know? Whereas as an adult, there's a whole new variety of factors. But these games, to be perfectly fair, they're so expansive. Like, they have not only great multiplayer content, but there's tons of single-player content, and you can debate the quality of that single-player content. I think it goes sort of up and down throughout the series. But there's, I mean, enough of it that if you are truly alone and friendless and have no Wi-Fi connection, you can still have a ton of fun with these games. Fucking Ultimate has so much single-player, too much. Someone said Rivals, they feel like makes a good substitute for Melee. Does it have, like, auto-cancel? I feel like there should be, like, scrub tournaments for Melee to, like, get people into the game. You know, where it's, like, a mod of the game where everything auto-cancels, you know? Not quite turbo mode. But you know what I mean. Well, I'm tearing off a paper towel and not ripping a fat one, as a chat member or a YouTube comment so eloquently put it once. I have this Nalgene, and there's a bunch of like water like condensated on the underside of the lid, and it's bothering me, and I'm wiping it off. Anyway, so Melee, I will say it's got a lot of fun characters. I haven't played it much as an adult, and from what little I have played, compared to the other ones, to me, it feels sticky and weird, you know? But I'm sure, like, I've heard from Melee players, they're like, oh, the other ones feel sticky and weird to me, which makes sense. It's just what you're used to. But, like this note says, I will tinker with it more in the future, but not at any point soon. It's got a cool aesthetic. A lot of the stages look really nice. Fountain of Dreams is like a vaporwave paradise. It's neat. It's still neat today, and I can very much appreciate competitive Melee looks awesome. It's like seeing people who are up in that like high skill ceiling area, you know. It's just so cool to watch, and I can definitely appreciate it as a spectator sport. Even though I guess I haven't watched Melee in a while, but I used to be quite into it. I don't know what happened to that. I just sort of stopped watching it. But anyway, Melee. Fuck, how do I give this a number ranking? I definitely recommend it. At least once, just like check it out, I guess. Fuck me. It's personal enjoyment. It's how much I like. The recommendation is what I recommend it to like your average Joe, and then I'll say out loud. I'll like clarify or whatever. If it has a qualifier, the number is how much I personally enjoyment. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5. You can read all you want, Melee fans. That's just me personality. I might play Rivals, yeah. At some point, I don't know. I might play it with Andrew. That might be good because he and I both have no experience with it. Rivals has a system where hitting your aerials decreases the lag, but missing them increases. That's pretty cool. Huh. Yeah, no, Andrew and I, as I said, I recently posted probably my final proper Smash montage, unless a DLC character I really take an interest to them, or if there's a new Smash game in the future that I really want to do one for, I don't know. But I mentioned there that not only will Andrew and I continue to do Smash Bastards for DLC characters, we'll also do like 64 Brawl, Melee, PM, Super Smash Flash 2, all sorts of shit, and we can also do unofficial ones like Slap City, Brawl Out, Rivals of Aether. I mean, platform fighters is just a genre now. So, there's basically infinite bastards. That's what I'm trying to say. But Melee, alright, 7.5. 6 out of 10. Smash for Wii U. This one, and I know this is gonna piss off Melee players that I'm definitely gonna rank this number higher. Smash for Wii U, of course, was the Smash game that I started my YouTube channel with. So it will always hold a special place in my heart. That being said, it's kind of Brawl 2. Like, I won't be reviewing Brawl here yet, but it's really kind of Brawl and Wii U, and to a certain degree Ultimate, but Ultimate kind of went back in the direction of Melee a tiny, tiny bit. Brawl and Wii U are both sort of this, like, homogenized, not homogenized, but it's sort of slowed down Smash. It feels like maybe the creators, when they saw what happened with Melee, they were like, and they saw how like competitive people got with Melee, maybe they were like, oh fuck, let's make the next couple of games like you can't play them in like a serious competitive way, basically. Which I think I don't think that was their entire motivation, but I think they definitely with these games wanted to appeal to more of a casual audience, of course. And this is a common observation about Brawl specifically. Wii U just kind of continued it. And also Wii U has the 3DS version, which I might never play, honestly. I really kind of doubt it. Although someday I might be like, you know what? I just smoked a ton of crack. I'm gonna play Smash Bros. For 3DS on stream. I don't know. There's not really much reason for me to go to it. I guess unpatched 3DS Smash has some fun jank. I heard about vectoring, which is like Wario has a specific weird thing that allows him to like survive forever or some shit like that. But Smash Wii U is still fun. And it's got, of course, more characters. This is more of Smash becoming more and more bloated with each incarnation. Each character, it feels like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the concept of power creep, but there's kind of like complexity of characters power creep, where at the very beginning, it's like, Mario shoots a fireball and has a super jump, and stuff like that. And now it's like, Minecraft Steve has a meter and he can fill it with dirt and wood and stone, and he can also craft different weapons, and he can mine up diamonds and gold and iron, and he can place down TNT, and if you walk backwards with it, and it's like, there's just so much more going on in the game in like Ultimate, and it's just kind of a gradient, as they got more complex. And I guess, yeah, 3DS has Smash Run, huh? That's true. I never played Smash Run. It sounds pretty fun. But that being said, these games are like, especially compared to Ultimate, like Brawl and Wii U are just kind of, they just feel kind of slow, especially after Ultimate came out. Watching Wii U footage and watching how slow the knockback was, it's just kind of like, what was I talking about? I was talking about how like bloated they got. The Wii U one, it wasn't too bad, but they were starting to introduce characters like Mega Man and Duck Hunt Dog that were really like kind of gimmicky characters. Same with like Snake in Brawl. You know, it has issues. It has a ton of issues. And what was even the single player in Wii U? Am I like forgetting? It had, what the fuck? Did it even have single player? I'm sure chat will be telling me in like a second. Smash Tour, basically non-existent. Yeah, it had like classic mode. You know, the single player content is not really, it certainly wasn't memorable, especially compared to Brawl and even Ultimate, which I had a lot of issues with Spirits mode. I'll get into that, I'm sure. Smash Tour is awful. It's like Mario Party Smash. That was so bad. Such a misstep. Whatever. But for what it's worth, Smash Wii U, still fun, you know, and it just had more characters, more variety. I guess there were some characters that were cut, which was unfortunate. And then adding them back with DLC kind of felt scummy, you know? It was like, oh, by the way, you can buy Lucas and Mewtwo and Roy, and it's like, could those have just been maybe free or something since they were in the past games? It just felt a little weird. And the DLC characters in Wii U really started to get, like, remember fucking Bayonetta? Remember Corrin in Smash 4? Remember when Corrin was, like, kind of OP? Maybe not OP, but quite annoying in Smash 4. And then Ultimate, it got toned down with both of those. But, I think they really started to get, like, extra gimmicky with the DLC fighters. And what is up with Jigglypuff in this game? Man, Jigglypuff is pathetic. Like, the two characters that I played, or two of the characters that I played, Game & Watch and Jigglypuff, it was so, like, playing online, playing For Glory, which the online options were not amazing, and the online in Smash is never amazing. But it was better than Brawl, at least. It was, like, existent. Whereas in Brawl, it was like you can never even get a match going. But, this was the first game where, like, I played it a ton, and by the end of me playing it, it was starting to get just annoying and frustrating. It was, like, all the fun of... Because the thing I really enjoy in Smash is, like, stylish, fun, crazy plays, you know? Like, or just, like, zany shit. Zany, like, interactions and stuff, as you can tell from my montages. And all the games kind of deliver on that. Like, you know, I was talking about skill ceilings earlier. Melee, you can do a lot more fancy stuff. But Wii U and Brawl all had their own things. Like, Wii U had footstool combos. Remember that? But, it just got frustrating at a certain point, and especially because I played two of the lightest characters who could just get, like, if the character that you're fighting has any sort of kill confirm, you'll die at, like, 60%. Like, fucking Robin in Smash 4 always used to piss me off so much because he was just like, if you're playing Jigglypuff or Game & Watch, you just get down throw up aired over and over again and die at, like, 70% or something. And there's, like, nothing you can do about it. It's like they have to grab you, like, 3 times, and then that's it. That's your stock. That, or it's King Dedede, and I'm getting comboed. I'm getting up-tilted by Mario out of a down throw, like, 10 times, and there's nothing I can do about it. Not even DI. I almost said DDDI. It would have been fun. So, all these, like, Smash games, I feel kind of, like, bittersweet about. But that being said, Smash 4, solid. I'm gonna give it an 8. And yes, I would recommend it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna be fucking crazy. I'm gonna rate Wii U higher, but then not recommend it. Because Ultimate is just an improvement, in my opinion. And my qualifier to this is if there's one thing you're going to play Wii U for, play it for the mods, because these two mods that I'm going to talk about are actually pretty fun and zany. And Trash specifically is actually like quite enjoyable and like replayable. Whereas Chaos, it just it becomes noise after a while. Sakurai did say it was a port. I don't even know which game that chat member is referring to. There's a ghost outside my room. So, yeah. Smash for Wii U, it's like, if you want to go blow the dust off of your Wii U tablet, I guess take it out. But, I don't know, I feel like personally I would only go back for it for like nostalgia reasons, or again to play these mods. That being said, let's get on to mods. Trash is actually really good. It's just a mod for Smash Wii U that makes it... all the characters got crazy buffs, basically. So all sorts of zany shit happens. I don't even know if I can remember a lot of the specifics, but it's like characters have entirely new gimmicks. Everything's kind of silly, like the character names and their little portraits are very weird, and I guess you would call it derpy. That would be the sort of aesthetic that it has. That being said, it's genuinely fun, but getting mods to run on your Wii U is like pulling teeth. It is like pulling goddamn teeth. It's terrible. It was the sort of process where even if you do everything right, sometimes it'll just randomly fail, which was so annoying, and it was such a like tedious, drawn-out process. And even though I had Vishera Games, who was like a modder, walking me through it, I still... it was too much on my brain. But for the record, it is fun. It's like when I remember me and my friends, we had this downloaded on a Wii U at a certain point, and we played it quite a bit. It really mixes up the game, and it makes it a lot more fun and satisfying. It makes it so you get a lot more of those like satisfying combo type moments. Why is my laptop dying? My laptop has decided that it should die. And now I can't see chat. Well, I'm in the dark. But I don't know how to rate these mods because the accessibility issues are so stupid. It's like, not only do you gotta take out that old Wii U tab and go and blow the dust off of it, you also have to go through the painstaking process of modding your Wii U and getting these mods to work on it, which is just a pain in and of itself. You know what? I guess I should also have the reverse knockback mod on here. I guess I can just mention that. We played it for a tiny bit. That was more like gimmicky. I guess we also had Stretchy Ganon and Link with big weapons. But I think Trash and Chaos are the ones, like, those are all like just like specific character adjustments or like a weird glitchy gimmick. But Trash and Chaos are like actual, it's like PM basically, where it's just an alteration of the game. Alright, I'm back. Hush, kids. Class, I'll not have you making a ruckus. But Treforce, I'm gonna say in enjoyability, I'm gonna give this an 8.5, and like, I think you can go into the single player content, but I'm not even gonna like mention, I'm not even gonna like think about that. This is a yes, but with like the biggest asterisk ever, because it's such a pain in the ass to get the mods running. Chaos, I would rate, it's very similar. It's basically Trash, but even more. It feels like a ×10 server in TF2. If any of you remember TF2 ×10 servers, where it's like everything is so overblown. It's kind of like you get lost in the noise. It's like a little too much in Chaos. Like Trash is a nice balance of like everyone's broken, but you can still tell what the fuck is going on. Chaos is like, as it says, I mean, it's not trying to be reserved. It's just complete bullshit. That being said, there are still interesting mechanics. Like, characters have unique gimmicks unseen elsewhere in the Smash series. I made a couple of montages that I called showcases, which was just combos against a CPU that was standing there doing nothing, basically. And I did one with Olimar in Trash, and I did one with Mewtwo in Chaos. And it was fun, basically. Like, it's fun to like lab weird combos with these excessive characters. But that being said, just in like casual play, Chaos has a lot less longevity. And I would rate it probably a 7. It's still enjoyable, and it's like, this, yes, is, if you've already gone through the rigmarole of getting your fucking Wii U modded, then sure. You know, might as well check it out. But I guess I should say, there's some that are not listed on here. Like, we had Stretchy Ganon, Link with big weapons, and we had the custom one that I had Vishera Games make for me, and I like paid him money for it, that turned Sing into an insta-kill move. That was pretty fun. And then I guess there was a skin hack, where it was like just a bunch of different skins for characters, basically. That was also cool, and it like made stages look different. That was pretty neat. I forget what that one was called, but that was popular as well. The creator of Kaphoros is in chat. I'll believe it when I see it. Oh, crazy. Well, that's neat. That's very neat. It's definitely, yeah, it comes across that Chaos is made without restraint, you know, and it's fine to examine it like that, you know, and it's fine to play it for a little while. But yeah, it just becomes noise after a while, you know. Yeah, the yes or no is my recommendation. I guess, yeah, that question got answered. Yes, the blue Pikmin freeze in Trash. That was part of the fun of it. And the yellow ones stun you. So you can get these crazy, like, Zero Suit Samus shot combos. But then Ultimate. Let's move on. Ultimate, which I know has mods, but I haven't tried them out yet. That's probably also painful. Smash Ultimate. Much more fun and fluid and fast than Wii U and Brawl, but not as fluid and fast as Melee can be, of course. Like, it's just when you compare cool Ultimate combos to cool Melee combos, it's like, alright, Melee still has that high skill ceiling or whatever, but Ultimate, for what it's worth, very fun, and you can do lots of crazy shit. I feel like a lot of the characters they added still had that gimmicky issue. Like, I really like playing K. Rool, and other characters like Game & Watch got significant buffs to make them similarly gimmicky. And Game & Watch was already kind of gimmicky. But it's like a lot of characters like DDD got the inhale reflector, and... Oh, what? Time to restart my laptop? Yeah, no thanks. What was I talking about? I know I was talking about Ultimate, but I lost my train of thought. Well, whatever. It's fun. It's a fun game. Oh, right, they have the, like, bloat. And it is more accessible. It feels like you can do cooler stuff than in the other games while having the same sort of skill level. But characters like, you know, King K. Rool has that, like, not only does he have a counter, he has a reflector, he has 2 different projectiles. You know, he's got his belly armor mechanic. It's like so many of these characters are so complicated. And Mr. Game & Watch too. He's got a berry move. Now he's got a reflector with his bucket. You know, now you can actually angle where the bacon goes rather than it just being fucking RNG in Wii U. Stuff like that. Those tweaks are good, but at the same time, it's not a very sustainable model for a video game, you know? And especially with Smash DLC characters, that's where it's got even more ridiculous. Like, in Wii U, it's like in Wii U, they added Ryu. And I was like, all right, whatever, you know, I don't like the input thing, but whatever. And you have like Duck Hunt and Mega Man, some really sort of like unconventional characters. I was willing to overlook that, but in an Ultimate, so many of these characters, especially DLC ones, have like a super meter or some variation of that, which just feels so unsmash-like. I've talked about this a lot before. It just feels like a lot of these characters, and you know, characters like Robin and shit, these are not characters that you can just pick up and play without any like prior knowledge or without having to like figure shit out. And I feel like that's part of the magic of Smash, is that it's very accessible. Even Melee, like casual Melee, you can have a ton of fun. You know, you're not going to be very stylish, but you can have a ton of fun. And I feel like making every character more complicated, or making a lot of characters more complex, and making them have like these management elements like Olimar and Robin, where it's like, oh, you have all these different tomes and you have to manage your tomes and stuff. It just feels strange. You know? It's very bizarre. So personally, I don't like it. I think it just makes the game feel bloated, and it makes it harder to manage. It's like if you want to be good at Ultimate, you have to be good at 70 matchups or some shit like that, 75, whatever the roster is at now. Which, by the way, the roster now looks like everybody's old like dream rosters, because it's got fucking like Ridley and Banjo-Kazooie and Minecraft Steve in it. It's like, bruh. I'm trying to think, like Ryu and Ken. That's also something that I don't think many people saw coming. To briefly touch on the Ryu thing, though, I just think like that in particular, that might have been like the floodgate that opened, because it's like every character has a unique gimmick, yes. And I like that in Ultimate they made the gimmick for Ryu and Ken that they face the opponent, but they didn't take out the inputs. Just the fact that if you can consistently do a Shoryuken input, you are just better. Like, your Ryu play will just be objectively better if you can consistently do that fucking jank. Like, people always like to say, oh, Smash players can't turn a doorknob. Yeah, Hadouken input is not the one people are complaining about. If you can do Shoryu, if you do a Shoryu input every time you open a doorknob, seek help. That's the one I'm really concerned about. It's like, it demotivates me from playing the character, because I'm like, I don't want to like practice having a seizure with my hand in order to like play this character properly, you know? I feel like the criticisms of that are perfectly reasonable, and it's like, especially in a game where nobody else really has that, too. It's like, it's less out of place in Street Fighter, of course, where everybody has inputs that they have to do. But in Smash Ultimate, it's like, part of the whole like fun of Smash is that you can just pick up the controller with some of the old games and just play, you know, and not have to worry for the most part about learning all the moves and shit. It just, that's what I mean when I say unsmash-like, because Smash at its core, I think, is supposed to be sort of just casual fun with drunken friends, even though that's not really what people always use it for. It's not what I always use it for. But it's it feels like it's against the spirit of the game, kind of. Not to get too crazy. And then Terry, yeah. Terry has the same thing. Like, Terry has a back special. That can be his cool, unique gimmick, you know? And Ryu has 2 final smashes. That can be his unique gimmick. You don't need to put the fucking inputs in. Please. Whatever. Complexity creep. Sure. Yeah. But for what it's worth, Smash Ultimate, probably the most enjoyable. I don't know. I would say in pure, like, just playing it with a friend fun, Triforce probably takes the cake. But I'm going to give Smash Ultimate my classic 8.5. It's a good game. Oh, and I should talk about the single player. It sucks. No. Spirits is very mixed. I felt like I use the word bloated a lot, and Spirits also is a very bloated thing. And a lot of people saw Spirits mode as sort of a slap in the face to characters that got deconfirmed through it, you know, like Shantae and such. I don't really share that bitterness. It just felt very like, oh, we just make a fucking thing with a billion fights in it, you know? And I get how people were disappointed after in Brawl there was the fucking Subspace Emissary. To be fair, in Wii U there was like basically nothing, apparently. But Spirits, by the time I was done with it, I was just like, please end. For the love of God. And I didn't even get the, like, happy end. I got bad end, where, like, Mario dies. So, and even then I was just like, whatever. Just end it, please. I don't want to fight just these endless fights over and over. You know? It was fun, like, for some parts of it. Like, I did enjoy some of the fights, and it's cute seeing how they took... Because to those of you who don't know, it's basically just a bunch of fights on a massive map. Just a bunch of fights, and you can sort of... There's, like, branching paths on the overworld. And each one is just a JPEG of a famous video game character that is represented... It's like the Sweded version of it is in the actual gameplay. So, like, Metal Gear Solid. There was a Metal Gear Solid character that was represented by, like, Dr. Mario and Rob the Robot. With, like, a metal suit on, or a metal cap. Metal box, fuck me. Stuff like that. I don't know why it's Sweded. Is that from Be Kind Rewind? I think that's from Be Kind Rewind. I was like, what movie is that even? But the single player is... It just felt like a slog at the end. Like, at a certain point. And unlocking so many characters. It's just like... This is what I mean by it not being sustainable growth. In terms of, like, video game design. It's like, what's the next Smash game gonna be? Either they're going to port Ultimate and just keep adding DLC characters to it, which I think is the most likely option, or I think they would be forced to just strip it down and maybe retool it into something more akin to a traditional fighting game, or really mix it up. Like, I feel like those are their only two options. It's like even seeing like Game & Watch characters, I'm like, oh yay, oh they're just represented by Mr. Game & Watch every time, basically. It's like, whatever. But it's a fun game. I even liked the single player mode for what it's worth. Classic mode is kind of repetitive and dumb. It's very similar to Spirits mode actually, but yeah, bloated is the word that always comes to mind. But fun. I've played the shit out of it, and I will continue to play it. It is very fun. So, yes, do recommend. You've already played it, though. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! We're at Punch-Out! How do you only have, like, 120 viewers? I did go live at 11 p.m. for me, and probably later for others. Every time I mention time... Chat is like, well, I should write down what time it is for me. So I'm sure that chat will be informing us of their time zones right now. But Punch-Out. This is a recent love of mine. I overlooked this series my whole life. I knew it existed, but I don't think I even knew like how it played or what type of game it was. I never delved into it at all. But for what it's worth, these three games, which are the console Punch-Outs, which is like the main series, and there are arcade games that predate them. There's a Game & Watch game as well. Those are non-essential, but I would say these three games are fucking badass, and that each one just gets better as they go on. It's, I guess to those of you who don't know, it's just, these are kind of boss rush games where you fight a linear sequence of opponents, and they're all themed from different parts of the world. They're all sort of goofy caricatures. It is dancing on the line of potentially being offensive. Some of these, especially earlier characters that were created in the 80s, like Pizza Pasta from Italy, or like King Hippo, who is like a mongoloid islander who can't even like speak or something like that. I think he speaks in the NES one actually. But some of them are a little what some people might find offensive. Personally, I find that these games actually handle it pretty well. Like, considering the theme of the games is, or not the theme, but like the premise of the game is going through and basically beating up a bunch of foreigners from different countries. I think it does come across as more of like a sort of fun celebration of all these different cultures, even though they are all presented very stereotypically, you know. I think a lot of people have observed that one of the things that makes it seem a lot more okay is that, for instance, in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, there's a character, which is a Japanese-developed game, there's a character called Piston Honda, who is a crazy, like, Japanese stereotype, where it feels like if that was made by an American, it would just be like, oh, that's racist. But it was made by Japanese people. So it makes it feel a lot more sort of lighthearted and jovial rather than being like this damning racism, you know? And it feels like most of like the major cultures sort of get made fun of, including Americans plenty of times. Although typically the guys, weirdly enough, even though this game is Japanese, I think it clearly, the series takes a lot of inspiration from Rocky, which is an American film. I actually just recently watched Rocky, partially because I was like, I like boxing now a little bit because of Punch-Out. It was fine. It's a Rocky movie. But the main character is American, and the most badass guys in each game are typically American. It's either Mr. Sandman or Macho Man. I guess in Super Punch-Out, they're from parts unknown. But I really don't find these games to be problematic, is what I'm trying to say. And more to the point, they're fucking fun. They're so enjoyable. Even the one on the NES, which I've said before, the NES is like almost not even a real console. Like the games on it, even the best games on the NES, are just okay, you know? But Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, not all the best games are just okay, I should say. It's got some standouts, and oh my god, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is one of them. Sorry, I just like burped mid-sentence. That was horrible. Yeah, and Mike Tyson's from America, but Mike Tyson's real. Mike Tyson's from the real world, too. I have never beaten Mikey T. I was actually, right before my tendinitis got really bad with the Mario speedrun, I had been training to beat Mr. Dream on emulator. And I think it's a little easier on console. One day I will stream grinding to beat Mike Tyson on console, because it's a little bit easier because there's a little less lag. He is pretty insane, but not undoable. It's I can definitely see why he earns the reputation of being the hardest boss fight ever. And that's honestly one of the drawbacks of this game, is that you get past Super Macho Man. Like, I've played this game so many times through now, from Glass Joe to Macho Man, but then it's got this extra fight tacked on that the original version of this game actually didn't have that when it was very first released, but then most versions of it have either Mike Tyson or Mr. Dream. It's interesting, like I said, Mike Tyson is deserving of the title of one of the hardest video game bosses of all time. I'm sure the title truly goes to some like Kaizo hack boss or some shit. But he's very, very difficult, and part of it is just the very beginning of the fight is like the hardest shit, because he has these instant knockout punches for the first minute and a half of the fight. And it's like basically, and with random timing too, which is just so brutal, and they're so fast. But up until that point, like the game all the way through Macho Man, I find it to be it's a decent challenge, but it's overcomeable. It does get kind of hard, but it's not impossible, and it's actually quite compelling. I would say playing it on emulator, don't feel bad about it, because playing it on console, your only option for grinding against some of the later fights is to use codes, like passcodes, and those are just irritating to punch in. Nice. I didn't even intend that. That being said, emulators do have a little bit of lag, which I found to be difficult with some of the bosses. With my stream of this game, I played all the way up till Super Macho Man, and then I just couldn't figure out, I just couldn't fucking do it. Because he had two different versions of his spin punch that just kept fucking me up, and I eventually got through it with save states. But then after that, off stream, I played the fuck out of that game and got a lot better at that fight. And avoiding the instant kill one that I just had so much trouble with. Actually, the instant kill one is now way easier to dodge because the timing's always the same. The one that knocks off half your health bar is random. That one sucks. But for what it's worth, it's a fun challenge, this game. And if you don't want to fuck around with Mikey T, I think that's perfectly fair. He's pretty obnoxious. It's pretty stupid. But the rest of the game is a pretty nice challenge and actually fun. It's just, for those of you who don't know, it's just you basically stand in the center of a boxing ring and you have high punches and low punches and you dodge their moves and punish them with punches, essentially. That's about it. You like block their punches too. And you can get like super punches if you hit them at a specific time or in a specific way. It's fun. It's an enjoyable game. Like, I would recommend this to anyone. That being said, the NES one, I'm going to give it an 8. It's good, but the other ones are just so much better that I don't feel comfortable giving that a higher ranking. But yes, yes, yes on all of these, basically. My favorite was always the teleporty guy. Yeah, Great Tiger. Punch-Out is just a treat, someone says. Exactly. I don't know if I'll ever do a blindfolded speedrun of any game. If I did, I don't know if I would do it with Punch-Out. I feel like I'm pretty good at the Punch-Out games now, but I don't know if I could speedrun it or do it blindfolded or any of that shit. Maybe like Pajama Sam. Do you really think anyone here doesn't know about Punch-Out? I don't think that's what I said. I'm certain many people here have not played Punch-Out. Anyway, Super Punch-Out. This one is fucking awesome. I would seriously give this one like a 9.5 because it got rid of one of the things I didn't really talk about with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is it's an arcade game. So if you're not using the passcodes, you get sent back to the very beginning if you lose 3 times, which is just a little annoying. It really didn't bother me as much as I thought it would, though, when I played it, to be fair. And I played a significant amount of it on console, too. I eventually bought a cartridge of it, and it really wasn't that annoying. Which surprised me. Because when you hear that, you're like, oh god, get sent all the way back if you lose 3 times. And I think if you lose at all to Mike Tyson, you get sent back all the way, or some shit like that. I think that might be a thing. Super Punch-Out, they kind of fixed it, where they have different, they have 4 circuits, which the first game had 3 circuits. The first 2 are hella short, and the third one's really long, because they have all these repeated fights, which are, but Super Punch-Out, it has these 4 circuits, and you have to get through each circuit rather than the whole game on like a try, and then once you get past the first circuit, and maybe you die on the second circuit, you don't have to do the first circuit over again. That's nice. You also, in order to unlock the last one, you have to do all the other ones deathless, which I don't know how I feel about that. It's not too difficult. But the game doesn't tell you, I'm pretty sure, so I feel like a lot of people must have played that game and just never realized that there was the special circuit. But this one is even more fun. One big thing about the Punch-Out games is just they're satisfying to play. It just feels good to do good in these games. On its most basic level, like punching a guy feels good. And in this game, they really toned up the personality of the characters. Like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, they've got these kind of crusty NES sprites. There's a lot of personality conveyed for an NES game for these characters. but they can only do so much, basically, with bleeps and bloops and little sprites like that. In fact, in both of these games, they use this system where certain characters will share a body model, and they'll be colored differently. They're like palette swaps. That's pretty common between these two games. There's only, like, Super Punch-Out has a few unique fighters that just have unique sprites. I think Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, it's just King Hippo is the only unique fighter. And then Punch-Out on the Wii, they were all unique, because they're all 3D models. But Super Punch-Out also does this, but it's a lot less noticeable. It is noticeable, but it doesn't like bother me at all. Like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, it feels a little repetitive. How similar a couple of the characters are, and also especially just repeated boss fights, like Piston Honda, Don Flamenco, and Bald Bull all show up twice, and it's kind of weird. It feels like, why just them? The whole thing doesn't make sense, by the way. Like, I don't know much about pro boxing, but I feel like that's not the way it's done. The way that it's done in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, where you fight the same guy multiple times. It's like you beat Bald Bull, and then you beat a couple guys who are above him, and then you fight him again, and it's like, huh? He just got really good in that time that you were doing those other fights. I guess. But Super Punch-Out has a ton of characters that don't appear in any of the other games. Like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Punch-Out Wii have a combination of ones from the arcade games, and a couple from Super Punch-Out. But Super Punch-Out has so many zany characters that I had no idea existed. After playing the other games, it was a real breath of fresh air. It's also worth noting, Super Punch-Out, gameplay-wise, has it's a lot more akin to the arcade game, which I've played a little bit of the arcade games. It's this system where rather than getting star punches and using them and like keeping them and using them in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or Punch-Out Wii, you build up this meter by not getting hit and by getting hits on your opponent. And then once it's full, you can just star punch basically as many times as you want. It's very satisfying. The graphics are pretty good. I mean, it's a SNES game. This is when games started to look really good. For the first time, even though it's a little crusty. But the expressions on the characters are great. The animations, they're so expressive and weird. Part of the gimmick of Super Punch-Out is that they cheat. The characters cheat a lot more. Like, there's a couple illegal moves in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. But Super Punch-Out, they're all over the fucking place. There's a dude who fights with a fucking staff. It's so stupid and funny. It's just great fun. It's super fun, and both of these games are available for free on Nintendo Switch Online, by the way. If you have that, you can just download the Classics Collection and play these. I was playing the fuck out of those, and that was part of the reason why the tendinitis was getting so bad before right around the time I did the Mario speedrun. But yeah, Super Punch-Out, it's got fun, unique characters. The voice in the NES game, it's kind of funny. They did do a decent job of approximating human speech as best they could with the little bleep bloops. Like I always remember Mario counting up and going bun bun bun. It was the closest approximation you can get to him going 1, 2, 3. You know, without having like Ghostbusters, that kind of like old voice synth. And the characters are like, barn, barn, you know, when they open their mouths. It's cute, but in Super Punch-Out, they actually have voices, and it actually sounds good. And like the announcer says like Super Macho Man before like the match and stuff, and it actually sounds decent. In the fucking arcade versions, they use that like voice synth speech, and it's like Canadian Bear Dugger, and it just sounds really bad. But Super Punch-Out, very clean, like just so fun too. It's just like it is everything it needs to be. It doesn't have the obnoxious Mike Tyson fight at the end. Like after I finished streaming this game, I just played it a bunch more times, and I got to the point where I can just get through the whole game deathless, and that's just such a satisfying feeling after those guys giving me so much trouble on my first playthrough, you know? It's one of those games where you really feel that improvement, and it's very gratifying to play. And very replayable, because there's always faster ways to take down bosses. That's why it's a very popular speedrun game. And then Punch-Out on the Wii, I'm going to say this is a perfect 10 for me. I don't know if there's anything I have wrong with this game, any issues I have. It's so good. It's basically they just took all the best ideas from the arcade game, from MTPO, and from Super Punch-Out. And they just did the best possible thing they could have with it. It's the first 3D Punch-Out game. The animation, some of the characters, when you compare them to how they used to look, it's a little jarring. Like, you look at, like, Bear Hugger, how he used to look and how he looks now, and you're kind of like, whoa. But I think the style really works, and I think the characters are so, like, they're, of course, more expressive and full of personality than they've ever been before. They're super fucking, like, it's a very funny game. It's interesting how the characters all speak their native tongues, and there's no subtitles, so some of them, they just come out and Glass Joe's like, fucking, bonjour, zotala, and you're like, I don't know what you're saying. It's kind of fun. And everything just works so well. I can't think of a flaw with it, really, like, and the structure of it, too. It's got so much content compared to the other games. It kind of takes... Because in the arcade Punch-Out, it was like you play through the, like, 6 fighters, and then you just play through them again for title defense mode, basically, but they're a little harder. And then after that, I think it just gives you random boxers. And Punch-Out Wii kind of paid tribute to that by having... You fight through all the boxers once, you fight through them all again, but they're all harder in title defense. And there's so much extra content in title defense. Like, I always thought title defense, it was just going to be like, they're just faster or whatever. But no, so many of the boxers are like totally changed up and crazy in title defense. And it's, even though it may seem daunting at first, fighting like Glass Joe in title defense, it's actually quite doable. But it gets very challenging. It's a very, like, satisfying challenge to overcome. But you do title defense, and then you do Max Last Stand, which is kind of like what you eventually do in the arcade machine, where it just gives you random opponents. It's like after you do title defense in the original, it just gives you random opponents forever until you lose. And it does the same thing in the Wii version. I feel like a lot of people who play this game aren't even going to see that, because they're just going to beat, like, the first version of the game. They're going to get to title defense, and they're going to be like, alright, whatever. But, for what it's worth, it's great all the way through. There's one issue I have, I guess. There's the bonus Donkey Kong fight, and it's just not very fun. It's cool that it's a bonus fight against fucking Donkey Kong. His animations are great. He's very full of personality, just like all the others. It's just it's a very gimmicky, weird, different fight from all the other fights. And it's unlike Mike Tyson. Like, Mike Tyson is just really powerful and good at boxing. Whereas Donkey Kong is like, it's like a totally different game, almost. And it was just very annoying and frustrating trying to beat him, basically. And also the fact that he shows up randomly in Max Last Stand mode. Like, if it's perfectly possible, and I've seen speedrunners do this, to go through the entire game without encountering Donkey Kong, all the way through Little Max Last Stand, because it's just random chance. It's like, if you lose 3 fights in a row in Max Last Stand, then, and you just by random chance don't get Donkey Kong, then guess what? You have to play through the entire game for just the chance to unlock Donkey Kong. And then you can fight him in exhibitions as much as you want, after you unlock him, of course. But it just feels weird that the way that fight was implemented. The way that the fight is, I'm glad that it's not necessary to beat him to beat the game. That is good. I appreciate that. But at the same time, the fight itself is just not very fun. And I remember I beat him like once in exhibitions, and I was like, alright, never again, I don't care. And Punch-Out Wii also has, speaking of exhibitions, after you beat the whole game, it's also got these exhibition challenges where every fighter has like 3 little achievements basically that you can get where you have to do weird shit during their fight. Where it's like, beat Glass Joe using only left hooks or something like that. I don't think that's actually one of them. But whatever. Those are fun. I don't think I ever actually did all of those, but I did a significant portion of them. But yeah, surprising amount of content. Just so fun. Amazing animation. Lark was telling me that something that he learned while editing the Punch-Out video was that rather than the models for the characters being like Gmod, where you basically, it's just a flex model where it's just the same face model all the time and they just stretch it to do whatever expression they need. They actually apparently, in the heat of the moment in the game, swap out different face models that are more appropriate and more usable for certain expressions, which I think is just such an amazing attention to detail. It's neat. Yes, one of Glass Joe's achievements is losing to him by decision, which is actually surprisingly hard. You need to sort of like exploit the by decision system. It's cool. But yeah, Punch-Out Wii, a godlike game. Like one of the, what is that, the second perfect 10 after Dr. Mario, right? Yeah. Or no, Pikmin also got a 10. So fucking fun. And the thing is, I was able to enjoy this when I was slightly younger and less experienced at video games when I was like maybe 16 or 17. I played this, just the original, what we call contender mode before Title Defense. And then I got to Title Defense and I was like, all right, fuck this. And I had fun with it then. But then when I was a little more experienced and I had grown up a little more, it was fun to go through it and go through Title Defense and do exhibitions. Just a blast. Yeah, just so great. I don't know what else really to say. It's a great game to stream. If you're a streamer, I can't emphasize enough. I want to see, Jerma has played a little bit of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Punch-Out Wii, but he played it with the motion controls. Don't play it with the motion controls. Play it with the fucking buttons. Come on. The motion controls are not even worth talking about in Punch-Out. And I guess Punch-Out Wii has multiplayer too, but I've never touched it, so I can't comment on that. It might be good. I don't know. I've never heard much about it. But yeah, so good and such great personality. Like I love all the little dialogue lines with Doc giving you advice between rounds. That being said, a small nitpick for Punch-Out Wii. The things that Doc says to you, and Danny commented on this in Game Grumps, he's so unhelpful especially during Title Defense. Sometimes, like so much of the time, he'll just be like, la-di-da, I like chocolate, I'm goofy. And you're like getting destroyed by this one character over and over again, and you're like, give me actual advice, please. It's like, even if they weren't subtle hints or clever hints, where he's just like, you can get a star if you hit him after this, you know, I don't know, something. Whatever. Dr. Mario and Punch-Out for Wii are the greatest games of all time. So yeah, tons of fun little details in these games too. I don't know, just a blast, just a blast. I really can't stress enough. I really want to see Vinny play those games. I don't think Vinny's ever played any Punch-Out game except for like Corruptions. And I think he played Doc Lewis's Punch-Out for like a second on like a demos stream. And I was like, no, play the real one. No! Whatever. And it's like Jerma's probably never going to play it again. Oh, sad. I think he like gave up at a certain point too. It was sad to see. Whatever. Luigi's Mansion. This is a cool game. This is a very sort of unique Nintendo property, I feel like. They almost... I guess they're still sort of action-adventure, but they almost feel like they have more akin with like a point-and-click adventure game, almost. Where it's more about this like exploration and puzzle solving. Uh, but I really like Luigi's Mansion. It's very atmospheric. It's kind of a funky game. It's got this sort of like... I feel like it takes inspiration from Ghostbusters. You know, he's got this device on his back that he's using to imprison ghosts. I feel like it must have at least some influence from Ghostbusters. And it's got this sort of like funky, like the music especially. It's the whole soundtrack, especially, oh man, when it's like going through the paintings that you've collected. That's a great song. Whatever. Great soundtrack. It's got that nice GameCube aesthetic that I quite like. I think in comparison to the second, or in comparison to the third game, rather, I've never played the second, but I streamed 1 and 3. I feel like the first one has a very strong sort of tone and atmosphere to it that 3 was sort of lacking in. It just feels like Luigi's Mansion actually genuinely feels pretty spooky at certain points. And I feel like it has a little bit more of a cohesive style to it. But for what it's worth, it's fun to suck the ghosts with your vacuum cleaner, which is weird because it's such a strange gameplay system of sucking. But they actually made it satisfying to suck. And to flash them with the light, and then their heart appears and you suck it up. It's a very weird system, but it's pretty enjoyable, even though the controls are a little jank sometimes, the way you sort of spin. It's actually quite fun, especially it's very like visceral with like the controller rumble when a ghost is trying to get away from you and stuff like that, and you have to like adjust to be able to, in order to like be pulling away from them at the right angle and stuff. It's just fun. And the bosses, I feel like the bosses are a lot more cohesive too. It really feels like this kooky mansion full of people that are all now crazy ghosts. I don't know. It's just cohesive in a way that the third one isn't. I think, or in the way that the third one is less cohesive. I would give Luigi's Mansion... I'm tempted to hit the old 8.5 button. I think a 9. I'm going to give this one a 9. It's short and sweet, too. It doesn't overstay its welcome, which I felt like Luigi's Mansion 3, I kept having to, like, bring myself back to it, you know? Whereas Luigi's Mansion, it's like I cranked it out in 2 streams, and I had a blast. And there's some obnoxious bosses. Boolossus, I always struggle with. I remember getting real salty at Boolossus. But for the most part, satisfying, fun game. Fun, the like feeling of discovery is nice. Good music, good atmosphere, good gameplay. Yeah, I mean, recommend for this one. I would say recommend... I would also recommend Luigi's Mansion 3, but it's non-essential. I would say you don't have to play it, but if you really got a kick out of Luigi's Mansion, you'll probably also get a kick out of Luigi's Mansion 3. This game, Luigi's Mansion 3, really kicked up the animation, of course, because it's a more modern game. Not only did they have more tech, but I feel like they also just put a little more effort into the way everything animates. The game looks great. It's kind of sandboxy in a way that the first one was less sandboxy, where there's a lot more like physics objects to fuck around with and things like that. This game also has a lot more mechanics. Like Luigi's Mansion 1 has, you know, suck, blow, and then it has like the elemental power-ups, which are fun. And then Luigi's Mansion 3 has like suck, blow, blast, jump, flash with the light, use the dark light, use Luigi for any of those things, you know. So it's a little more, there's more toys in the toy box, but it also feels kind of cluttered. I had that sort of Zelda syndrome with a couple of puzzles where I was just like, okay, this is basically just blow, suck, and flash your lights on everything in the room until you figure out what to do. For the most part, there were like intuitive puzzles that had sort of satisfying solutions. But there were a couple parts where I was like, what the fuck do I do? And I was like, okay, whatever. Uh, that being said, like I said before, this was a game that about halfway through I just ran out of steam, and I was just like, I just had to force myself to come back to play it. You know, I feel like if I wasn't streaming this game, I wouldn't have even finished it. If I was just like casually playing it on my own. Because it just doesn't feel quite as cohesive as the first one. Like, part of my child brain kind of enjoys the concept of this wacky hotel that has each floor is completely different from the other ones. But in that, it's like, oh, there's like a plant floor, and then there's like a movie studio floor, and then there's a medieval floor, and stuff like that. It just feels a lot more disjointed and like all over the place. Also, I found a lot of those Zelda moments happened with the bosses. A lot of people got really mad at me while I was streaming this game because I just couldn't figure out a lot of the bosses. It just felt like just trial and error for a lot of them. There were some really good bosses, but some of them I was just like, this is just dumb. And then when I figured out the solution, I was like, oh man, that was stupid, you know? And that's just my opinion. Some of the bosses just felt like, what the fuck do I do? And it felt like it wasn't clearly like telegraphed what you were supposed to do, or it doesn't like really make sense. Whatever. Yeah, I have been going through very slowly. I don't know, how long have I been going here? I'm gonna sign off pretty soon, guys. This is, I'm not even, I might not even get to Pajama Sam. I might not even, get to fucking Binding of Isaac here. Hold on. I need something to crunch on. Little snack, little break. Oh, the movie floor had such a dumb puzzle where it was like, you need to carry these objects around. You can't carry the objects through a door, but you can carry them through a television portal? That was a moment. That was a moment where I was like, okay, I don't think I'm dumb here. I think that was just stupid. Luigi is a fun addition. Luigi actually made for some pretty satisfying puzzles. Very well animated. I always remember being like, wow, they really went ham on like animating the like physics of Luigi. Like when he stands still, he kind of wobbles. Really nice, cute stuff. And it's satisfying to play just like the first one. I've never played the second one. I haven't streamed it, nor have I played it on my own. So I can't attest to that one. But it is satisfying to slam those fucking ghosts. That's some of the most fun, is like smashing things and slamming ghosts. That being said, a lot of enemy encounters were just kind of the same. It's just like, suck them and slam them. There were so many enemy encounters where it was just like those little blue ghosts called like boogs or whatever. And they're just like wearing a different hat this time. I don't know. And it just feels a little more generic too. Like Luigi's Mansion, I feel like had a bit more of a compelling plot. I don't even remember I think the plot of Luigi's Mansion 3 was just all of Luigi's friends got captured and put into paintings rather than just Mario. Like the ending cutscene of Luigi's Mansion 1, actually kind of touching. Like the part where Luigi like starts crying, like tears of joy that he rescued his brother, and he's like, oh, finally, you know, the nightmare's over. It's like, wow, that's really great. Ending of Luigi's Mansion 3, I don't even fucking like remember. It was like we fought King Boo on the top, and we killed the lady, the hot ghost lady with the big hair. I don't know. Oh, and the segments with the cat can go fuck right off in this game. Every once in a while they were like, here, time to pad out gameplay in this already kind of overlong game. I don't know. When I was editing Dark Souls 2, there was a part where I was like, we had recorded it while I was like halfway through Luigi's Mansion 3, and I was like, you know, something I really like about this game, it's not too long. And I should have realized at the time that I wasn't done with the game, and I actually did end up having that exact complaint about it. So, yeah. what do I want to give this one? Honestly, this one was like a 7.5 for me. Like overall, it just felt like I was really excited for it beforehand, but then after I played it, I was like, I didn't really need that. You know, I could just replay the original Luigi's Mansion and get a similar amount of enjoyment. It was fine. The cat parts were so dumb. Whatever. F-Zero X. I haven't played this game too much, so I'm not going to go nearly as in-depth as some of these other ones, but F-Zero X is good. I think it's the most fun F-Zero game to me. I've played the SNES version, the Game Boy Advance version, and this one, which is on the N64. It's 3D F-Zero. It's got like Mario Kart 8 gravity gimmicks, where there's like certain levels where the gravity, it's like, oh, you're riding on like a pillar where you can drive on all sides of it and stuff. It's actually super cool, like high octane action. I actually really get a kick out of F-Zero X. That being said, I never play it for more than like half an hour, and then I go, okay, next thing. You know? An F-Zero reboot would be awesome, or just like a new installment in the series. It's one of the most deserving, because it's got so shafted over time. I don't think I've ever played the single player of this, so I can't even really judge it. But playing it with a friend, it's fun. it's a neat game. That being said, yes, I don't often come back to it, and I don't often play it for very long. It's kind of like pod racing in that regard. I'm gonna give this one 7.5 as well. Yes, this is probably my favorite F-Zero game out of the ones I've played. Hell, even just a port of this. I wish they would start making a classics collection for N64 games. In fact, with the Mario exclusive stuff, you can still buy the Mario 3D All-Stars collection, right? When does that end, chat? Sorry, I'm eating candy right now. Just give me a second. My voice is getting tired. March? Okay. Well, I'll be curious to see, because there is potential that they will... I feel like if there was any moment that they were going to make N64 games available for NSO users, that would be the moment, you know? It's like after that stops being exclusive, it's like, all right, now you can get Mario 64 with NSO and all these other games too. You know? What kind of candy? I don't want to influence your buying decisions. I don't want to be a shill. No, it's these like crunch balls. They're pretty good. They're too chocolatey, if anything. Portal and Portal 2. What do I even say that hasn't already been said? I've often called Portal my favorite game ever. I think I would probably give this one a perfect 10. Still, to this day. It's a personal game for me. I feel like this is one of the first real video games that I ever played where I was like, wow, like this and like Mario Galaxy and a couple others, where I was like, wow, video games are fucking awesome. I was like, it's not just Pac-Man and Flash games, you know? Like, this was something that really, it was a good like gateway game for me as a casual gamer to get into video games as an art form, basically. Just so good. Like, Portal has basically everything. It's got a good story. It's got well-written and well-performed dialogue. GLaDOS is one of the best video game performances ever across both games. She has this cool sort of arc. It's genuinely funny, which so few video games are, and so many video games try to have a sense of humor, and they just fall flat on their face and completely fuck it up. Portal is actually funny. It's a compelling puzzle game with unique mechanics, I mean, of course, portals are now in everything. Portals are in fucking Plants vs. Zombies now. But back in the time that Portal came out, the only other game that had it was Narbacular Drop, which was basically the demo of Portal, or the prototype. I think, actually, possibly, I don't know. It's just such a good game, and it's very, like, that first playthrough of it, I wish I could just erase. This is one of those games where I wish I could just wipe all memory of this game and go back through it again. Because let me pull up Steam. I know I have an obnoxious amount of hours in this game because it was the only game that I owned on Steam for a long time. It was like, this game was the reason I got Steam, because I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, can I buy Portal? Because I really, really wanted it, because I had played the Flash game version, and then I saw a commercial for the real one, and I was like, and I genuinely thought that it was like an upgrade of the Flash version. I thought the Flash version was the original, and it was like, there's a 3D Portal? Hold on, where is it? 380 hours in this, like, 2-hour-long game. So I played this game a fuck ton. I got all the achievements, did all the stupid shit. But it never was quite as magical as that first playthrough, actually figuring it out and actually seeing the story unfold, you know? It's the perfect amount of, it's got the perfect amount of story, too, where it's like, you're never bored, you're never watching a cutscene. Like, Portal 2 has a couple moments where they're just like, alright, sit there and watch plot happen. Portal, it all happens as you're playing the game and as you're enjoying yourself and figuring out the mechanics. It's also a thematic game, you know? It's sort of about breaking free. And infamously, the reason why the cake is in the game is because ostensibly, this is just a story I've heard, this might not even be true. Ostensibly, the developers of the game were like, okay, we need a theme for this game. This is the story I've always heard, is we need some sort of thematic thing to hold this game together. What do we want to use? And it was like the room fills with silence for like 5 minutes, and then somebody goes, a lot of people like cake. And they were like, fine, let's just have the goal of the game be cake. But perhaps sort of unintentionally, it became a game about breaking free of systems and sort of, it's a game about transcending, kind of. Not only like moment to moment you have this technology of the portals taking you from one place to another, but also the overall arc of the game is escaping from the facility. And as the end credits song implies, and also, interestingly enough, after a certain amount of time, Portal got an update that slightly changed the ending of the game to make it a little more like hopeless, but Still Alive implies that not only is GLaDOS still in existence, it might have been her plan all along for you to come along and take off the restrictions, her emotional restrictions that the scientists had placed on her, which is the final boss of the game, is stripping these things off of GLaDOS. Which, amazing final boss, by the way. But it does have that sort of hopeless tone of like, okay, you didn't actually accomplish anything, but there's this sort of symbolic breaking free that you do at the end anyway. I don't know. It just feels like it's got a perfect amount of artistry put into it without it feeling like overbearing, you know? Without feeling overwritten. It's real nice. But there's that whole business with the update. I guess I can talk about that. After a certain point, it was like a fairly close amount of time to when Portal 2 was announced. Although it was before Portal 2 was announced. There was an update to the game that included... It had this new achievement that was called, like, Transmission Received, or something like that. And it added radios in every test chamber of the game. And it was like, you have to pick up the radio and it has a red light on it. And you have to take it to a certain undisclosed, unmarked area of the map. And just hold it there and it gets a transmission. and it was a bit like an ARG, yeah, where it would then play a signal that was like a spectrogram or spectrograph, I forget what they're called, but a sound that can be transcoded into an image. And then there was like hidden lore stuff and like jokes and shit that you could find through that. And there was also a website called aperturescience.com. Portal has, I think it from the start has had this thing on the wall, one of the Ratman dens, which is another great bit of storytelling, by the way. They just sneak it in there. It's so beautifully done. One of the Ratman dens has a password and username on the wall that says C. Johnson, and then the password is tier 3, and it says trust me. And if you took that username and password and put them into like aperturescience.com at a certain point, you could actually get lore that was disclosed in Portal 2 before Portal 2 ever was announced. So the whole thing about Aperture Science used to be a shower curtain company, and they had like all these different ideas before they got around to making portals. That was all on the website before Portal 2 ever came out, which, I'm gonna say it, I was a true Portal fan, and I knew that shit before Portal 2 came out. It was such a cool aspect of the game. And there's so many cool little details. Like, not only are there Easter eggs like the nice little jellyfish and the big bad jellyfish, which are just like Easter eggs. There's also, like, on those screens that go by, there's a bunch of screens in a lot of the test chambers and a lot of the rooms overlooking the test chambers. And if you look at it, it's got a encoded cake recipe on there that is the same cake recipe that the logic core reads out at the end of the game in the final boss fight. Which, that final boss fight is so cool too. It's like, not only are you being tested on all the things that you've been working on throughout the game, like gameplay wise, also you get this amazing interaction with GLaDOS where she's losing aspects of her personality as you fight her, and she's talking the entire time, so you can just hear her descending into madness. So cool. Such a cool game. Just amazing. Like, I don't know. This is one of those games that's insanely popular now, and it's like, I can get why people would say, oh, it's overhyped or something like that. But I really just can't. I feel like it can't be overstated how important this game is, personally to me at least. But I feel like a lot of people also share a similar adoration for this game. If I had to have one criticism, there is kind of like how Punch-Out Wii had those exhibition challenges that were great. Portal has a similar thing. It has advanced test chambers, which are just harder versions of certain test chambers. Those are fun. Those are fun. But it also has challenges, which are like, do this test chamber in a certain amount of time, or a certain amount of portals placed, or the worst one, a certain amount of steps taken. And getting the gold on all of those is so hard. It took me a while to get those. And I was using like speedrunning exploits for some of them. Like, I was using portal bumping to get some of them. Those were a little frustrating and fiddly and annoying. It just felt like they were too ridiculous. Just a tiny mark on this game's basically perfect record. I don't know. A great soundtrack too. Portal and Portal 2 both have fantastic soundtracks. I haven't really been talking about that, actually. Fuck. I haven't mentioned the soundtrack for any of these games. I'm gonna eat a handful of crunch, and I'm gonna rate the soundtrack of all of these games. Why did I forget to talk about that for everything? Give me a minute. I try to mention soundtrack with every game. Smash games have awesome soundtracks. They're just cool remix albums, basically, of lots of classic Nintendo games. I would say Smash Ultimate is just the ultimate version of it. It's got so much fucking music in it. It's got music from indie games. It's got like 1,000 fucking like Final Fight, Fatal Fury, Terry game songs. I guess I did talk about Luigi's Mansion. But it's just got so many good songs. Even the Minecraft remixes, with Minecraft Steve, the like Minecraft Smash music, so good. Just awesome. I would say it's maybe not the best just like listening to it on your own music, but so many good themes and so many good songs, like such a quantity and quality. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, it's pretty basic, but actually the da 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 da, it's pretty good. It doesn't drive you insane like some NES game music does. And of course, I failed to mention the little cutscene. That's so cool, and that's so inspired by Rocky too. So clearly inspired by the that classic montage. There's even a shot in Rocky that's very similar to the running along the waterside in Punch-Out. But it's good for an NES game. Super Punch-Out, kind of not that notable. It's not the best thing about that game. It's got a very SNES sounding sound font, of course, I mean, because it's on the SNES, but it's very stereotypical SNES sounding. But it's good background music. Punch-Out, same. They did cool remixes for each of the characters that were like themed around where they're from, but then they only appear when you lose to that character or in exhibitions. They don't appear in contender mode or title defense, which I think is a big missed opportunity, but whatever. The music's still good in that. Luigi's Mansion, funky, fresh. This one's got some fat beats. That one's so good. Just good. Luigi's Mansion 3, I don't even fucking remember. The only one I remember is the dance boss, which had a neat theme, but honestly, I feel like that one was a pretty stereotypical soundtrack. F-Zero X has got that cool, like, sort of metal, that, like, blood-pounding music. Pretty good. Not the sort of thing I would listen to on my own, and then Portal. Ambient most of the way through, but great. Like, there's some songs on there that are so good. And then there's a couple of, like, fight songs. Like, there's one for the turret ambush that's called You're Not a Good Person. And then there's the GLaDOS fight. But for the most part, just cool ambient tunes that have this really, like, sort of desolate, lonely feel to them that really add a ton to the game. So yes, absolutely I would recommend the video game Portal. It is one of the best games ever made, probably. Self-Esteem Fund is one that a long time ago, actually, I made this series of videos that was called Street Noise. This was before I ever did Smash stuff on my channel. And I think the first song I ever used for one of those, it was just like ambient rain and city sounds with cool video game music. And I think the first one I ever used was Self-Esteem Fund. That's just such a cool song. I'm eating more candy, I'm sorry. It really, like, when you have like one of those really dry poops, and it looks like deer poop or like rabbit poop, that's what these candies look like, and it's slightly nauseating. Delicious beaver shit. That's an old joke. Not that old. Okay, Portal 2. I'm gonna say, like, right off the bat, I almost just want to give this one a 10 as well. I do agree, this one has sort of classic sequel syndrome, where it's ever so slightly flabbier. Like, there's a lot more to the game. Portal 2 takes a lot longer to beat than Portal 1. It's got a lot more content, and it's amazing, but it does have, it misses some of that, like, sleek elegance of design that Portal 1 has. Like I said, in Portal 2, there's some parts where they just go, all right, sit on the John and just watch a cutscene happen or watch a conversation happen between these two characters or whatever. And they're good cutscenes. The voice acting is amazing. You got Ellen McLean doing GLaDOS, and you got Stephen Merchant doing Wheatley, who just nails it. He's so good in that role. And I remember initially he was going to be someone else. I don't remember who it was, but in the original commercials, he was a different British guy. And then they went, no, we want to get Stephen Merchant for whatever reason. He does a great job. Very funny, just like the first game. But it has a different tone. It's a little less dry than the first game in terms of its wit. And it just feels a tiny bit less tight, you know? The plot is a little more complicated, and there's some parts of it where you're just like, okay, we just have to go here now. Okay, we just have to go here now. Blah, blah. And it's just kind of this checklist. I don't know, it just feels ever so slightly more clunky. J.K. Simmons as Cave Johnson, yeah. That was... I didn't really know who J.K. Simmons was before Portal, so now when I see him, I'm like, oh, it's Cave Johnson. Yeah, he was so good. I'm gonna finish these. It's the last of the rabbit poop. So in chat, while I'm doing this, you guys like this? Is this, I figure some people probably like it, but be honest. Is this boring as shit? Adios, poop clusters. Depends on my mood, yeah. Alright. Well, thanks. I'd be honest, like, I don't know. I'll probably, regardless, do this for all these games, but, I don't know. Cool. Good background. Yeah, I feel that. Alright, sorry. You don't need to, like, feed my ego. I just wanted to, like, scope out, see if people were digging this. But yeah, Portal 2, the co-op in Portal 2, not only does Portal 2 have an amazing single-player campaign, it also has, which this game doesn't have, like, the advanced test chambers, but that's not really necessary. I don't really give a shit. It also has the co-op mode, which is fucking amazing for, like, it's one of the best co-op games I've ever played. And I've really not played many, because they're usually not very fun, but it's actually so good. It works so well. The two robots that are the main characters of the co-op are very full of personality and charming and fun. It really adds a lot to the experience. And they do lots of fun things in the co-op mode, like GLaDOS saying things like, I think you're my favorite, don't tell the other one, and stuff like that. It's very silly. And then there's the Perpetual Testing Initiative, which, whenever a game series comes out and has a, what do you call it, like a level editor or level creator, that's when you know they're probably not going to make any more games. So I don't think I would ever really want a Portal 3, nor would I expect one. I would definitely, I mean, I would play it if it came out, and probably love it if it was made by Valve, but it is unlikely at best. But the level editor, that's really cool. They actually gave so many cool, like, tools, and they gave unique voice lines. They had J.K. Simmons record more Cave Johnson lines just for the Perpetual Testing Initiative. Really cool stuff. And it basically just means you can play Portal 2 forever if you really want to. Oh god. My throat is making all sorts of noises. Oh my god. Anyway. Yes, I would recommend Portal 2. The graphics are a significant step up. Like, Portal 1 sort of shares a style with Half-Life and with Half-Life 2, and so does Portal 2 to a certain degree, but Portal 2 is a little more, like, stylized, and it's got, like, the nice, like, overgrown aesthetic. I really love those early test chambers where there's just, like, weeds and bushes everywhere, and there's, like, light beaming in through, like, panels that are broken open, and it's just very cool. There's, like, water trickling through it and stuff. It's really neat. And they expanded on the gameplay really well, too. Like, they have the light bridges, the emancipation tubes, or whatever they're called. That's the emancipation grill. I forget what they're called. The, like, tubes in the Wheatley levels, the gels, of course. And I like the whole arc of going down into the depths of the earth. It's kind of like it's a bit of a parallel of the first game, because the first game you're just going down and down and down and down, and then you break out near the end. But Portal 2, you kind of, there's like a rise and then, or there's a fall and then rise, with going back down into the old facility and sort of seeing the history of the place. It doesn't really make sense that all those tests would be like running basically perfectly and you would be able to just go through them like that. I know there's like a couple things in between levels where you need to like make up your own rules like me, which that line doesn't make any sense either, because he says that in response to you skipping over some like broken shit to actually get to the next test chamber. It's like the person, why did he pre-record that message, you make up your own rules like me, unless he knew sometime like 200 years in the future, Chell is going to be down there and the like elevator is going to be broken and she's going to need to like walk along a pipe to get to the next one. Whatever. It's good. But I like it. It's got good mechanics. They're good for making the user-made puzzles too. And it looks and sounds great. The soundtrack is awesome. It's a very long soundtrack with a lot more variety than the first one. And it's just got some great stuff like the Turret Wife Serenade. Lots of nice little fun secrets. The Ratman dens have been beautified even more. Like the first game, they were kind of just like graffiti dens. But this one, it's like street art. It's like Ratman went to like art school or something in Portal 2 because he stepped up his game. It just looks and sounds beautiful, plays really well. I love how they animated the facility sort of like coming to life a lot more. Like the first game kind of had a little bit of that, very minor, but especially during the escape sequence, like you see the robot arms that GLaDOS uses to place things. But in Portal 2, it's next level. Like, I remember seeing the trailer for Portal 2. I watched that trailer so many fucking times, too. I was so hyped for Portal 2. But the way that all those, like, panels in the wall, they'll bump out and they'll, like, shake off the old panel and it'll, like, fall into the water or something. It all just looks great. Grapefruit, what's 9 plus 10? Easy, that's 90. Next question. No, but Portal and Portal 2 are some of the best games ever made. If you haven't played them, what's wrong with you? I don't mean to sound that demeaning. But very fucking good games. And great gateway games, like I said before. I feel like Portal is a great game to like introduce people to sort of games as an art form, you know? It's like to people who only think of video games as like, oh, it's Call of Duty and Pac-Man, you know? Should I get into the Binding of Isaac or should I call it quits? You don't get to answer that, chat. I'm thinking to myself. I think I'm going to call it quits. I didn't review very many of these today. But I gotta go to bed. It's like 1 a.m. I'm not going to go to bed, but I'm going to go do other stuff. I'm sick of talking. I enjoy doing this. There's not been a lot of like red. When we get down here, like some of these Pajama Sam games are gonna get like 2 out of 10. And there's some crappy indie games I played, but we're gonna see a lot of green on this list, I think, because the games that I play on stream are generally ones that I like. But yeah, look at that. We only got from Melee down to Portal 2. Whatever. Gonna go eat more rabbit shit. Yeah, I don't mind that this is taking long, though. How many more do we got? We've done 44. How many games are on here? I guess I need to add Grim Fandango Remastered here, huh? 185. All right, well, we're not very far. I will say a lot of these, like, later ones, like going through fucking Total Recall, Top Gun, Ghostbusters, Fester's Quest, those are gonna be much faster than rating fucking Portal. So, you know. So it goes, but next time we will talk about Isaac, we'll talk about V, talk about Hat in Time, Antichamber, all these fucking humongous entertainment games. Hell, next stream we're probably still not gonna get to Dark Souls. But I'll continue doing this. This is nice, a nice rest on my hand, too. So, feels good. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Go to bed.